Welcome to today's webinar, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here because the clinical industry has modernized almost everything except how it pays for its trials. While clinical data is captured in real time, finance teams are still drowning in manual Excel reconciliation, facing a median lag of 6.3 days just to close a month. Today, we are shifting the conversation from manual tracking to AI-driven solutioning, and we will explore how modern clinical trial financial management system uses AI agents to eliminate the reconciliation tax. Now, before we dive in, a quick housekeeping notes. This session is recorded and we will be sending you the recording via email. A recording would also be available on our website to download at any time. All participants are muted, but we encourage you to use the Q&A section to drop in your questions or the chat for any comments that you may have. And anytime, if you encounter any technical issue, please let us know in the chat and our team will promptly help you out. And this is what we would be covering in today's session. We'll start with a brief look at our mission and the speakers joining us today. We will examine why clinical trial financial management remains a major bottleneck and take an honest look at the state of clinical trial finance today. We'll break down the 5 hidden costs of manual financial management. We will then pivot to what modern clinical trial finance looks like. We will showcase Cloudbyz CTFM as the engine behind smarter, faster trials and introduce our CTFM AI agent. Following a solution overview, our speaker Ved will walk us through a live demo so you can see these AI agents in action. And then we will conclude with a Q&A session to answer your questions and leave you with a free white paper. So hope to see you towards the end. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our experts who are leading this digital shift. First, we have our founder and CEO, Dinesh Kashyap. With over 25 years of experience in digital transformation, he has been helping life sciences organizations adopt the latest advances in business and technology. Joining him is Ved, our product manager. Ved specializes in driving tech innovation in healthcare and life sciences and has a strong background in clinical trial operations and e-clinical solutions. He has collaborated with cross-functional teams to deliver impactful products that use automation to enhance trial outcomes. Now, before I hand it over to our speakers, I would like to introduce to Cloudbyz. I'm sure a lot of you have joined us in our sessions before, but just for the benefit of people who've joined us for the first time, our platform is one of the fastest growing unified clinical trial management solutions in the market, and it is designed 100% on the Salesforce platform. This offers a unique blend of scalability, modularity, and configurability to suit your specific business needs and processes. At Cloudbyz, we believe in empowering organizations of all sizes, right from Fortune 500 companies to agile startups, to streamline their clinical trials, optimize operations, and accelerate the delivery of life-saving therapies. Our comprehensive suite of products covers the entire spectrum of clinical trial management, including the CTMS, which is a flagship product and facilitates seamless end-to-end project management for clinical trials. Our CTFM, which is a financial management tool to manage the financial aspects of any clinical research. The ETMF, which is a robust document management solution, ensuring compliance and efficient data handling. Our electronic data capture product, which is a powerful data management platform. Safety and pharmacovigilance that streamlines safety monitoring during and after clinical trials. We are also exploring the future of clinical trials with our recently launched AI-powered solutions and agents. One of them is what we would discuss today. Beyond our solutions, Cloudbyz has been recognized in the Everest Group's matrix as a leading provider of e-clinical solutions, highlighting a commitment to excellence and innovation. Our products seamlessly integrate with your existing systems, offering a unified workflows to ensure your clinical trial processes run smoothly and efficiently. Now, globally, we are present in 3 countries with our headquarters in Chicago, USA, regional offices in Toronto, Canada, and an offshore delivery center in Bengaluru, India, allowing us to support clients across all different time zones. Our solutions are fully compliant with global safety regulations, including FDA 21 CFR Part 11, GCP, HIPAA, and more, ensuring quality and security in every aspect of clinical trial management. We are proudly ISO 9001 and 27001 certified, and we continue to be recognized for our commitment to quality and security. We're also honored to have been featured among the top 5 emerging pharmacovigilance startups by Startup US and to be recognized by the Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies in America. And we have been featured in the Everest Peak Metrics report for our CTMS and EDC product, again highlighting our commitment to excellence and innovation. Now, for more information, you can always visit our website, cloudbyz.com, or reach out to us at info@cloudbyz.com to book a personalized demo. We look forward to helping you bring life-saving therapies to market faster and improve patient lives worldwide. Now, without further ado, I'll hand over to Dinesh. Dinesh, over to you.
Thank you, Pooja. Hello, everyone. It's so excited to talk to you and all and present our thought leadership and material for you all. As just to begin, as you know that the clinical research as a whole is a multi stakeholder collaboration across the companies and at various stages, starting from sponsors, CROs, and clinical sites. And the entire process is very complex and also requires very tight agreements and contracts and so on and so forth, depending on who is executing what part of the research activities. And therefore, there is always going to be, the contractual agreements or right negotiations across multiple stakeholders to execute a clinical trial. And oftentimes that becomes a very critical, piece, from the speed standpoint, as well as from the, cost of the trial standpoint as well. So therefore, having a streamlined way to manage and operate clinical trials across the board, across multiple stakeholders, is that it's quite challenging, and it's been quite challenging, and most of the time it has been manual process all along, a lot of paperwork, and though with the digital platforms and technologies, recently there has been some improvements, but still industry is still struggling to gain the efficiency what these stakeholders anticipate or expect. So based on our understanding, right, so if you look at from the clinical trial financial management standpoint, there are still a major bottleneck exist as of today. So one is it's extensively a manual process and manual work, which requires manual reconciliation, at least 4 to 5 hours per invoice, for example, whether it is the invoice from the site to the CROs or sponsors, vice versa. So there has been, a significant manual work that goes into, that includes matching, with clinical trial agreements, terms and conditions, and also collecting the data points from various systems, whether it is the CTMS standpoint, from the milestones and activities and tasks and rate cards and etc. And also from the EDC standpoint, where clinical data being captured, where visits are being monitored to see, whether visit is complete or whether visit activities or procedures have been completed, whether data collection activity has been collected. So that data comes from the EDC. And in order to compare, when the invoice comes in from the clinical site or an investigator, it takes significant amount of time to collect these data points to verify whether those activities have been completed or not, right? So that activity, reconciliation, and then matching that with the what rates are being negotiated with the particular site, and then looking at the invoice and to make a determination to, whether that's accurate or not, and then, the payout for those invoices, right? Now, that entire activity takes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes many months, right? So while the sites are actually waiting for the payment, even though they have completed the activity from their side. So, and again, that creates a lot of rework, and I'm sure there is going to be a back and forth between clarifications and activities and time points and etc., the quantity which is being mentioned, and etc. So oftentimes, that takes a lot of time for processing the payments for the investigators, who are actually waiting for these payments. And that's kind of a friction in terms of to bring in the best experience possibly can from the CRO standpoint, from the sponsor standpoint, while they engage with the sites. Now, the other, the bottleneck is, sometimes the lack of accuracy in the payment itself. Sometimes, the invoice when the invoice is submitted and during the verification, sometimes there may be the overpayment. Sometimes it may be underpayment too. Sometimes it's inaccurate as well, depending on what activities are completed, what stages they have been completed, the level of quality, and also there is also the itemized contract, the way it is being written, so on and so forth. There's always going to be you know uh, the leakage of financial things, and there is also going to be a back and forth in terms of whether those payments are accurate or not. There are a lot of errors happens during this time. There are a lot of duplicate payments happen sometimes, and also there has always been a mismatch with respect to the contracts and rates, discrepancies, and can impact 1% to 2% of annual disbursement, right? So, and that's one of the reasons why industry as a whole, they kind of have a practice of holdbacks, so that they can work through these kind of differences over a period of time. But again, at the same time, the sites are waiting, and definitely that creates some kind of inefficiency and the friction from the site standpoint to make sure there is a smooth collaboration happening, right? So going to the next point, which is basically the close and visibility lag. So typically, what we have seen is that 6.3 days is the what it takes to get a real-time visibility into what's really going on before the data exchange happens between these stakeholders, right? So the manual data gathering is one of the reason why it takes so much time, because oftentimes the data being gathered through Excel sheets or emails, right? And also some of these accrual estimations, right? To pushes reporting into multi-day cycles, which include, close to, 6.3 calendar days before even just to collect the data itself, right? And that is almost, sometimes it may take 10 days, 10 plus days too, right? So that there itself, you can see that, there is so much of, delay happens, and there is so much of inefficiency happens. Right. So that's where, these are the bottlenecks, which I think if once solved, can significantly improve efficiency, as well as the speed, and also significantly improve the experience of collaboration between clinical sites and CROs and sponsors. Next slide, Pooja. So if you really look at the state of clinical trial finance today, right? So again, it's the manual process, right? The finance team, export data from multiple sources, CTMS, EDC, sometimes Excel spreadsheets, sometimes emails, right? Being referred to check and cross-verify whether those particular activities being performed, particular visits are being performed, particular procedures are being performed, and then reconcile all of this data points into the invoice which is being received, and then cross verify with the rates, and applicable activities, and so on and so forth. So that's a significant manual. As we discussed earlier, it takes up to 10 days to just to get the data and then start working on manual process, right? Rising costs and turnaround times, it's a significant in the industry, as we know that the startup economics are not getting better, because right now, and then approximately based on what we have observed, is that approximately it takes around 54.5 days from budget receipt to finalization. That is during the startup time, right? So that is the time where trials must have been started already if there was a very efficient way to collaborate with the sites, in agreement with, getting to a clear clarity in terms of the agreements and the budgets, and finalization with the real-time collaboration, right? So lack of that, it is significantly taking amount of time to just to initiate the site, so that they can start the patient enrollment and for the study, and roughly around 68.8 days end to end for the contract and budget timeline. So that is just for this, US based sites. These are observations are just from the US based sites. And again, this is basically, the entire, if you really look at it in the study startup, again, this is one of the aspect of the entire end-to-end clinical trial management. There is significant time being lost in the study startup itself. And you can imagine the entire the process, not only once the contract and agreements are in place, once the patient enrollment and visit, the conduct happens, right, throughout the period, right, you can see these delays and discrepancies keep piling up over the trial, duration of the clinical trial. So therefore, it's basically accumulating all of these, manual processes and inefficiencies throughout the study. At the end, it significantly impacts not only the speed and also the efficiency, most importantly the accuracy of the financials of a clinical trial. Sometimes this is where the clinical trial budgets overblown, and most significant impact is that the collaboration and the positive experience which CROs and sponsors would like to give it to sites, that gets significantly impacted as well, right? So oftentimes the sites suffer from not having the payments in time, and therefore it is impacting their operations oftentimes, and also it impacts the overall execution of the study in those clinical sites. So these are all the kind of an impacts what we have seen, and that is a kind of a current state or a situation of these cost and turnaround time which are impacting the collaboration between sponsors, sites, and CROs, and eventually impacting the overall success of the clinical study as well. Again, the next point is basically the reconciliation time. As we mentioned earlier, the slow payment cycles also strain site cash flows, which we have seen, which we have heard so many sites on these aspects quite often. Quarterly payments can extend site account receivables from roughly 47 days to 139 days, and that's extremely difficult environment, a financial environment for sites to operate, right? And also, most importantly, because of that, right, the relationships between the site sponsors and the CROs get strained, not able to provide a good positive experience working with the sites and on those particular trials. And because of that, your study get impacted. And also, sometimes, if you want to work with them in a next time, for example, on a very exciting study, so even though highly qualified site may not be encouraged to participate because of the payment delays which have happened in the past, for example, these are all the significant risk for the sponsors and CROs as well, right? So the last one is the why it is happening, right? Oftentimes industry is flooded with, and even customers like, sponsors and CROs and sites are, multiple systems which are being used. Like, there is a CTMS, there is an ETMF, there is a EDC, there is a query management tool, so on and so forth. There are so many different systems. Oftentimes those systems are connected, so therefore it creates islands of the data points. It's extremely difficult for the contract processors, payment processors to really get a good picture in terms of what is operational view looks like, what is the project management activities looks like, what are the milestones looks like, what are the activities looks like, and comparing to when did the patient enrollment happen and when did the visits happen, right? And also making sure that all the procedures and activities are being completed for that particular visit, to get a full picture in terms of the getting the data from various disconnected systems is what fundamentally impacts how much time it takes and clarity and visibility they can get. So we have seen that in at least 4 to 6 systems are being used by sponsors and CROs to track budgeting, payments, and site performance. Most of the time, these are not integrated, right? And data moves by email and Excel attachments, right? And also pull the data from one system to the other and do the reconciliation. And it all takes time. While this is all taking time, the sites are actually waiting after finishing their side of the activities, and that is something which is significantly impacts the performance of the study from all respect, whether it is the controlling the budget standpoint, experience standpoint, and efficiency standpoint, and timeline standpoint. Next slide, Pooja. So if you really look at it, what are the hidden costs of a manual financial management in the clinical trials, right? So if you really look at it, the reconciliation tax, right? For example, if you really look at it, 80 to 90% of the reconciliation time wasted headcount you could redeploy to strategic work. Right? All of this reconciliation, as we discussed earlier, a lot of these data point collection, comparing that data points with the rate cards based on what is being negotiated, what is being agreed upon, and whether those activities are completed or not. Are there any partial payments required, or full payments required? Are there payment being overpayment being done or underpayment being done? Are there any discrepancy for those payments between the sites and CROs and sponsors, right? That's a significant, and also the tax calculations as well, and that's tax calculations. And even then, if you get into international sites, then there is actually the currency conversions as well. So there's a lot of complexity happens in that. And most of it is kind of a manual, right? So if when the manual process involves such a large volume of vast data points collection and processing, that's a significant impact with respect to the timeline as well as the effort needed. So same, if you translate that into the actual savings, like at least 12 to 15 extra hours per month is needed minimum, for a given, the site processing, for example, right? That could have been saved and redeployed those efforts into the other areas of the strategic work. The visibility gap, and this is a significant point here, because oftentimes financial team will not have a real-time visibility into what is really going on, all the way from the operational standpoint, from the CTMS data point standpoint, in terms of the milestones and project plans, and the due dates for activities and etc., and when those are being completed, and whether they completed full or completed off, in partial, for example. And when did the patient, once the patient is enrolled, when did the visit activity started completed, and all the activities, not only just the procedures, and also CRF completion, and all the monitoring activities being completed, right? So all of that, oftentimes these data points live in a different places, sometimes in the different systems. Sometimes these are paper-based, sometimes they're Excel-based, sometimes it's an email. So not having this real-time visibility to financial team significantly impacts whether they're on time, whether they're paying the right amount, whether they're all the activities are being completed, and eventually it impacts their utilization of the budget, because oftentimes they don't know in reality what work being done. Their accruals, forecast may not be accurate, and because these data point takes time. And also the payment, status is also not, they're not confident, because they don't know until unless, it is being disputed whether the overpayment is being done, or is the underpayment being done, or the calculations are correct or not. So there is always, any error introduces additional layer of, discrepancy, which team has to work through to make sure they can correct those. The days of delays, right, closes in terms of, whether it's a take a study startup activities, that's a significant delay, whether it is a, the, the visit completion standpoint, data collection standpoint. So there is a lot of lack of visibility, it really creates a huge gap. And the third one is, as we discussed earlier as well, the trust deficit, right? And this is where there is a significant, gap in terms of trust, because there is no real-time visibility in terms of as soon as the particular activity being completed by the site, and they might not know when they're expecting, when they can expect the next and the payment for the activities which are being completed. They have no visibility when they're going to get, whether the how much they're going to get paid. And while they're waiting, and they're also execute their part of the next set of the activities while waiting for the payment, that kind of creates a huge significant friction in terms of how they can conduct smoothly their side of the activities for the same study. And basically, what we have seen in the industry is that we are seeing that 60 to 70% of slower payment, which significantly impacts the site experience, and also it builds a trust gap between the CROs and the sites, and the sponsors and the sites. So mainly the lack of visibility, and lack of giving them the real-time visibility in terms of what is really going on, and also addressing some of these data reconciliation activities much more smooth as they work through those. Anxiety premium. So oftentimes, because of the compliance standpoint, as we know that, clinical trial operations is highly regulated, work. So oftentimes it requires a lot of, auditing needs to be done and make sure that they're compliant with a lot of activities which are audited. So therefore sometimes some of the payments may be held back because of until unless those auditing activities are compliant, or some of the activities are maybe compliant, for example CR, ECR of data collection. So until unless it is reviewed and audited and accepted, right, the corresponding payment is often not released. So therefore, that audit compliance adds additional layer of delay to the payment processing standpoint. So that's again additional delay which because of the audit requirements. And also and the last point is change order. As you know that as and when the protocol amendments happen, whenever that takes the change order process. Once the change order process is done, again we have to do the entire change order budgeting, contracting activities, and everything. It has to go through one more time. And again, that gets into a very complex situation of entire manual processing, readjusting, and also making sure that the payments which are being made and how it's going to impact for the future activities. And again, that takes weeks of rebudgeting, recalculation, and everything. And ultimately, it impacts the overall study budget as well as the budget which they are negotiated with the clinical sites as well. So let's look at it. What is the solution for these challenges? What we have discussed, right? So if you look at it, what is a modern clinical trial financial should look like, right? So one point is, the real time, integration between EDC and CTMS to collect both operational data from the CTMS and the clinical data from the EDC and see, in real time, so that way you can compare how these activities are being planned from the planning standpoint, and when they are being executed, you can actually compare the data points from the CTMS and the EDC, and then system can alert and validate and give a proactive updates in terms of how these activities are being completed. One of the example could be, right, when the visit completed in EDC, that data point can bring over, you can bring that data point into the CTFM solution, and then you can actually that data point can trigger, right, all of these payment creations, validation activities, and quality check, and all of that it can create. And you can also assign those payment creations for the review from the financial management standpoint, right? And they can be proactive in terms of processing such payment for those activities. And also check the visit window compliance automatically as well, so system can do that. And the next point is, site-specific rate card lookup, right? As you know that, each site have their own rate cards negotiated for various activities they perform. And when the activities come in from that particular site, system, can automatically match up the rate card which is being negotiated with that site and automatically create the payment for the activity what that particular site has completed in the system right away. Instead of, collecting this and manually reconciling, the system can do that automatically because system already has that in data points, and the system can automate that workflow to creation of the payments as well. And system can also consider all the tax calculations, holdbacks, for example, any adjustments, and also can come up with the final payable amount. Sometimes there may be some activities which are partially completed. In such situation, system can create a partial payment, and then it can compare with the rate cards, and then it can present the financial team, this is what being payable for this site, right? System can do that automatically as well. And the real-time dashboard updates, and as and when both operational activities, whether it is a study startup activities or a conduct activities or a visit, patient visit activities happen, and those operational activities and the clinical, data capture activities from the EDC standpoint, if you bring all of these different data points together in one system, and system can provide a real-time visibility through a dashboard to see across the different KPI metrics, right? What is the startup activities and what are the milestones, what are the payments associated to those as well, and provide a real-time visibility for the financial team to look at, as and when those activities are completed, financial team get real-time updates in terms of a dashboard basis, and they can compare, right, what activities are being completed, what is accrued, and what is the payment generated, what they have to pay out, etc. And they can also monitor the budgets too, because yeah, if there is a increase in the budget in actual more than the budget, right? You can actually see are they spending money more than what is being planned, etc. And they can also monitor the cycle time too, how much time it is taking to as activate a site, for example, how much from that time, how much time it is taking to release the payment as well, right? You can actually monitor the cycle time to make sure that you are minimizing those cycle times as much as possible with the real-time visibility you can get. And also automated visit validation. You can actually system can automatically validate the visit because the system can maintain these, each visit windows, visit plan in the system. And when the activities come in from the EDC standpoint, right, when the particular visit is being completed, those visit activities can come over and then it can validate with the with the clinical trial financial management system and automate the entire validation. Is it inside the window, or is it, what is the quantity being completed? What is the completion of the data accuracy, for example? And also it can check, whether all the procedures are being completed. Sometimes there will be multiple occurrences of the procedures. It can also validate such things as well. So it can automate, a lot of these visit validation activities where you can minimize or you can eliminate the human validation of those activities as well, because system can do that job much better. Automated invoice and payable generation. Again, system can automatically generate as soon as the activity completion updates come in from the EDCs or CTMS systems, and CTFM solution can automatically generate invoices and payables in the system and keep those ready with including all the calculations goes with it as well, right? You don't have to worry about calculating, applying taxes, or applying, any kind of an rule-based, payment calculation, for example. System can automatically generate those payments based on those conditions, and it can also generate, accrual report as well. How much work is being completed and how much they have to pay for those activities as well. And the system can also support bidirectional ERP sync. For example, when all of these payments are generated, and if you have to pay out from your financial systems, right, and this particular data can be pushed into the ERP so that ERP or financial systems can pay out from those systems to the sites and whoever is the party on the other side. And that's what the automation in which you can actually confidently send the data to these financial systems, and financial system can generate account payables and process the payment from the financial systems.
All right. Thank you, Dinesh, for that wonderful layout. Just quickly, I know we are running a little behind on time, so I'll be quick here. So this is your foundation to our CTF system. On the left side, you have budget planning, forecasting, contracts, payment tracking, site payments, financial monitoring, reconciliation, and FMB benchmarking. On the right side, you have governance and scale layer, which is compliance, audit trail, accruals, vendor cost management, multi-currency support, and integration with your EDC, CTMS, and tax compliance. Next slide, Pujan. So AI has become a buzzword in any industry, and also in our industry, obviously. Each vendor has AI story right now, if you go to any website anywhere, right? But we just didn't want to join the race for the sake of it. We step back and ask, where in the clinical finance workflow does AI actually remove a pain? Where does it save real hours, cash clear dollars? And this led us to two agents you see on the screen. On the left, you see Financial Navigator Agent. This is your on-demand financial analyst. Ask it any questions about budget utilization, payment status, forecast, and it answers in real time from the live data within your system. So no report request, no waiting for someone to pull numbers. You can just chat to it in a friendly language anytime you want. On the right is your invoice reconciliation agent. This is the one that saves you the most time and money. Site uploads their PDF, Excels, the agent reads it, extracts every line item and classifies them and matches them against your system pro forma and flags any discrepancies. It just doesn't show you the data, it actually tells you what to do about it. And we're going to see some of it in action today while in the demo. And with that said, let's head to the demo, Pooja. Thank you. Yeah, I hope you can see my dashboard.
Yes, it's visible. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, welcome everyone to our CTFM demo. So let's say this is your Monday morning and this is your live data. So top chart you see here is cross cost projections by task. This is your projections by study. So you can see our city study right here has 5.8 million forecasted, and the report below is cost forecast code forecast by enrolled subjects. When enrollment accelerates, you can see the financial impact in real time. So no waiting for month end to see what's happening, with your cost forecast. Moving on to the financial work list. Now, this is where your work gets done. The financial work list is your action queue. Everything you need to put your attention on is right here. So, top section, you can see completed visits, pending validations, all payable spending invoices. These are kind of the most important things. But on the right tab, you can see the budgets, all laid out in the proper structure, all your approved budgets, all your site budget, study budget, all of that in one view. All your transactions, these are the touch points, or these are the trigger points which would actually generate payments. So your financial milestones getting completed, your visits getting completed, any conditional procedures getting completed or coming up, all of that will be the trigger points, and you can track all of that here as well. And then you can see so forth payables and invoices, which we can get to a bit later. But before that, I wanted to show you something powerful. Now, this is where I'm going to call in my AI agent to ask some of the questions about the budgets, because it's a pain to go through such a big list and try to search a study and then go within that. So I'm going to call this agent and I'm going to ask this, um, let's say, give me a budget overview for the city study. Now, this is not a perfect study name exactly matching, but it's still going to find it. And then it says any specific budgets I'm looking for. I'm just going to say all the budgets. And in real time, you can see now this AI agent financial assistant of mine has pulled in all the study budgets and site budgets under that study. What's the status of that? What's the cost? What's the total? Withholding, everything is fetched right from this agent. And I can go ahead and ask more questions about this budget. I can ask it to break down any specific budgets as well. But now I'm going to ask it another question, because as a VP, I want to know what's happening with the payments for a specific site. So I'm going to ask for site 10 Cairo. How much has been paid versus how much is pending? And are there any concerns? Now, look, it's in a very human language I've asked my AI, and there it goes. So it finds all the paid invoices for this site called 10 Cato, all the pending invoices, and it also flags all the ones which have a wrong amount. It says zero for this invoice, and it flags as a red signal for that. And actually, if I scroll down, you can actually see the concerns from the AI which has been raised. So the AI says there are 3 draft invoices totaling 90,480, and these needs to be finalized and submitted. And there are 2 rejected invoice totaling 1650, which requires resubmission. So it's not just a chatbot; it's actually giving you recommendations, and it has perfect knowledge of every record in your system. So you don't have to wait or have to go to each report or have to go to each record to find out. You can just chat with the financial assistant to find out any information in the system. So that's something I wanted to quickly show you before moving on to budgets creation. The system does have centralized libraries. By that I mean we have standard task and rates, standard procedures and rates. This is where if I click on this particular standard procedure, this is where you can pull and capture your fair market value benchmark through phase 1 to phase 3, phase 4 molecular diagnostic cost, each can have their benchmark rate. When you're building a site budget, system can pull from this benchmark automatically, and you're not guessing or you're not looking at your old spreadsheets from these 3 studies ago. You're actually using this rate card to benchmark your cost that you put inside budget. Budgets is where you actually have your budget template. So this is where you can create any kind of budget template that you want to create in the system to save time. So if I just show you some options, you can have a therapeutic area specific budget templates. You can have a region specific budget template. You can have a phase specific budget template, or you can get even more creative, or you can have a therapeutic and a phase specific template, or therapeutic region and phase specific template library. So what we can do is we can create these libraries for you beforehand. So when you're starting a new study, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create budgets from scratch. You can just use your template and import in the system, and it's ready to go. And again, dealing with 20 Excels versus just clicking a button to import a budget template in the system is going to save a lot of time, as you can guess. Moving on, I am going to go into a study called RCT. This is the one I was searching earlier, by the way, with an AI. I just gave RCT study, and it was able to match a whole study name, including all the details that are in the system. So I will head to the financial subtab. This is where my study budget sits. All the contracts, budgets, payables, all of that is in one financial view. But I'm interested in the study budget right now. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to quickly open this budget wizard. So this is how your study budget will look like when you import from one of the templates. So now this budget has been imported and has been modified for the study. So you can see the investigator grant, which is actually pulling in all the data from its subsequent sites and summarizing at the study level. And similarly, you have central lab, DM, etc., buckets, and a whole summary of this study budget. And then you can capture your withholding percentage, advance percentage. You can also capture your tax rate right here. We can have multi-currency showing up here as needed. So this is where you can get, as detailed as you want with the study budget. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to a clinical site called 10Cato. This is where I was searching about payments details earlier for the site. Within the site, I also see financials. Now, this budget was also rolled up to the study level. But again, the way system is, you can navigate anywhere and find the right information that you have to. But the system is defined in a way that it all rolls up and makes sense at the study level as well. So I'm going to click on this budget, which has been approved for the site. I'm going to go into budget wizard. And this is where the system gets really powerful. We can actually create the visit procedure by visit metrics in the system. So down the left, you see every procedure: pre-screening at 200, surgery at 1,000, MHX assessment at 2,000. And on the top, you see every visit window: screening, surgery, week 1, week 3, end of study, etc. In one grid, you can see all that happens in a visit. And this is the matrix that's going to help us create payments and invoices in the downstream, which we're going to see now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm going to find a subject which I created. This subject has no visits right now and no payables generated right now. Now, all of this process I'm going to do right now is going to happen. I'm just going to assign it a visit plan is going to happen live through an EDC. So you don't have to go and do this process I'm doing right now, but just for purposes of understanding, I'm going to go to this visit. I'm going to mark this visit and all the procedures for this subject complete. So again, all of this is going to happen automatically from an EDC integration that we do. But now, as soon as I complete that, let me refresh this. And you see almost 8 payables for each procedures getting generated. Now, this is where the system becomes really powerful. You don't have to have an Excel or look at multiple contracts and generate this. The system does it for you. And when I click on each payable, you can see the complete referential integrity maintained. So if I scroll down, you can see which study it's coming from, which site it is for, which subject visit it's being pulled from, which budget line item each, where exactly from the budget it's being pulled, or which budget it's being pulled from. So all the referential integrity is maintained. And again, in the automated world, this will happen in EDC, and you can come back and check if things are accurate. And that's the step we're going to do now. I'm going to go to my home again and going to come back to the financial work list we were talking about. So we covered up the transactions last time, right? These were trigger points, which tells you which payables have to be generated when. But now in the payables, I have some visit payables, which I just showed you guys how to generate. So I see these payables have pending validations. So what happens is either you can go into each payable and check if the EDC data is accurate, or you can have system validate for you. So when I click on validate, the system actually checks if all the studies site visit is intact, everything's accurate, and says validation successful. Or if not, it brings in the error that these were missing. And this is especially helpful in the automated world where EDC is generating those payables. So now when I go here, these visits payables were validated. Now it's ready for invoicing. So I can now create invoices out of these payables. Now I can create two payables in an invoice or whatever your process is, right? Right now, I'm just going to create all the payables in one invoice packet, and I've selected those and going to click on generate invoice. And what the system will do now is they're going to create an invoice packet IN0094 right here. Now, in the logical next step, I've dealt with payables or accruals, and now I'm going to head to the invoices, and I can see all my invoices throughout in a single picture. So I can see all the pro forma invoices, approved invoices, site invoices. We're going to take a look at it in a few minutes, but this is the invoice that I generated, 0094. I'm going to click on that, and I can see now invoice workflow in the system. So it's in draft mode, but I can click on invoice line item and show you guys that all the line items that we were earlier dealing with is populated here. So screening, the procedures, and the amount is accurately being pulled in from the system. So this is what system generated for you, as you know. Now, let's say you go through approval process. There's a whole approval workflow in the system. That it's 3-level, 4-level, 5-level. Based on your process, we can set that up. But let's say you reach to a point where you get a site sending you back an invoice based on their own calculations. So now I'm going to upload that invoice manually, but in real world that could happen, through a portal, or you can get an email with the invoice that can automatically populate this. Now, once you get a signed invoice, the normal process is that you will have to open the invoice like this, and I can see off the bat that there's some amount which is not exactly matching what my system amount is. But again, in the real world, you have so many invoices to deal with. You will open Excel, you will open this invoice, you'll open contract, and you'll have to compare. It takes almost like 1 to 2 hours per invoice is what I've heard. And imagine clubbing multiple invoices into a single invoice or payables or subject visit. So I'm going to call my AI again to help me here. So I'm going to call my AI called invoice assistant, and I'm going to tell my AI to extract, or actually it's right here, extract data from this invoice. So this is my invoice assistant who's going to extract the data from the site invoice that was uploaded. Let's give it a few seconds, and it's going to bring up all the data that the site has sent back to me. There you go. So the AI has now extracted that invoice I uploaded from the site behalf. So you can see the amount here is 2212, which is almost $1,000 more than what our system as a sponsor CRO gave us. So I'm going to go ahead and ask him, ask my agent to update the system with this data. Again, I don't have to go anywhere, update anything. So this amount invoiced per site, we can capture what the amount the site has provided as well, but we don't have to manually do it. The agent will do it for us. And there you go. You can see the agent has actually updated this amount. So all I have to do is just click on refresh, and there you go. So as you can see, the AI has updated this, and it can actually tell me what is the issue with these invoices. So I can also ask him to summarize, the reconciliation report. So it tells me there are 4 items which exactly match, 4 items which has discrepancy, and these are my attention items. So you can see this one. So the first 2, the site has invoiced more than what our system gave, so it's red. And the last 2, the site has invoiced less than what the system has provided. So this is where it gets interesting, that the agent will actually tell you what is the discrepancy is, and it provides a color or wax status, as we call it, based on what was wrong or what was missing. And it was able to read through the invoice, and this could read through multiple invoices in one as well. So just an example, we took one invoice, but it could have more than one invoices too. So finally, again, this will save so much time. But again, we have something called reconciliation dashboard, which gives you the whole picture of what your reconciliation journey or what reconciliation issue is within the invoices that you've gotten. So you can see um, the clinical study, the site name, the rack status, the invoice date, amount invoiced, sorry, in one picture, and you can have your own reconciliation reports. All of those things I showed you, including the AI agent, can be downloaded into a Excel in just one click. It could be exported to your email in just one click. So you don't have to again, copy paste anywhere and download. System will create Excel for you. System will create a report for you and send it to your email in just one click. So just slowing down and showing you how the reconciliation report looks like. And that's pretty much it. Again, we just wanted to show you what our capabilities are, what AI agents can do at a very high level. Now, there's so many items I can show you with our financial navigator or invoice reconciliation agent, but wanted to stop here and pause and say that this is how we can save a lot of time. If you talk about reconciliation, if you talk about getting a report of your payments health or invoice health, the system can do that for you in seconds, if not minutes, which would take you hours to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ved, for this fantastic demo. And thank you so much, Dinesh, for the thought leadership. We will, in fact, now move on to our Q&A section. And I would encourage our attendees to please drop in your questions for our speakers today. And I hope you were able to get some value out of our content. And in the meantime, like we would also encourage you to maybe scan the QR code to download this white paper on optimizing clinical trial financial management and for efficiency, compliance, and transparency. I'll open the floor now for Q&A. Looking forward to your questions. And while we wait for your questions, Ved and Dinesh, I just typically wanted to understand what are the common questions that you come across, when you go on these discovery calls within the community. What are the typical conversation points that you come across that you would like to share with our audience today?
I think one of the questions which I always get is how does this integrate with an ERP, like an existing ERP of our clients, like SAP, Workday, Oracle, NetSuite? And I want to call out that we have open APIs which are bidirectional. Uh, so system does not actually pay to the sites or subjects. The system tracks everything that gets paid. So the payment confirmation flows back and forth automatically. So we will connect or integrate with your payment system, ERP system, sorry. This is how we would know the payments have been or invoices have been paid out as well.
Well, thank you so much, Ved, on that. Dinesh, how about I mean, any frequently asked questions that you've come across in your conversations within the community, when you talk to
Yeah, yeah, especially, yeah, thanks for that. So definitely, what we have come across often during our conversation with our customers is that the level of accuracy and the timing, right? The time is, we get the data from the sites on various activities which they have completed, and the level of accuracy accrual report can produce, right? Oftentimes, that is where the biggest gap is, and getting that data in time, and also making sure that their accrual reports are accurate and in time, so that way they can process the payments much faster and they can predict their financial outflow, right? We have seen that that is a major ask when it comes to such systems, and we have seen this across multiple customer discovery sessions, that's a very important to have.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. So we don't have any more questions I see from our audience. So I believe we can close the webinar. But should our audience, anyone would have any questions, please feel free to drop in an email to us at info@cloudbyz.com. You can always reach out to us through our website as well, www.cloudbyz.com. And just on a closing note, so we will be sending you the recording and the presentation in an email. Please watch out for your inbox tomorrow. And with that, thank you once again for your time and attention today, and we will see you next month. Thank you so much. You have a good day, good evening, and good afternoon.